Chapter 218, Success. Splitting the spoils was actually a skill. Even a father and son would have a knot in their relationship and a hidden danger if they didn't split properly, let alone friends. Look at Zhang Ziking, this energetic young man. He was absolutely shrewd. Among the three of them, Zhang Ziking was clearly at a disadvantage. Hence, he took the initiative to reveal the distribution rights to Zhu Tui and Zhao Saxui. Zhu Tui did not think too much about it. He briefly thought about it and said, "Missin, you should be the one to distribute the loot. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been able to wipe out the Black Sword Ant pirates." Zhu Tui's words were half meant for Zhao Saxui and half for Zhang Ziking. It meant that Zhao Saxui would be the one to split the profits. No matter how Zhao Saxui split the profits, as long as it was not too ridiculous, old Zhang would not have any objections. Zhao Saxui looked at Zhu Tui and then at Zhang Ziking. As soon as they finished eating, Zhao Saxui put on the blue mask again. "Little Zhang, you should have done a clearing mission before, right?" Zhao Saxui asked first. "Yes," Zhang Ziking nodded. "In essence, this can be considered a clearing mission. We will settle the profits according to the rules of a team clearing mission," Zhao Saxui said. Zhu Tui and Zhang Ziking nodded vigorously. First of all, according to the rules of the team clearing missions, the logistics personnel will enjoy 10% of the profits. This time, the logistics personnel were handled by Little Zhang. Therefore, Little Zhang can take 10% first, Zhao Saxui said. In addition, according to the rules of the team clearing missions, the intelligence team can enjoy 10% of the profits, and the combat planning team can enjoy 10% of the profits. In all the team clearing missions, we have to draw out 30% of the profits first and distribute them. The rest can only be distributed by the combat personnel. At this point, Zhao Saxui looked at Zhu Tui. Zhu Tui was in charge of the intelligence team and the combat planning team for this mission. So, it shouldn't be a problem for Zhu Tui to take 20% of the profits, right? Zhao Saxui asked. "No problem. The intelligence and battle plans were all done by Brother Zhu. This 20% should belong to Brother Zhu," Zhang Ziking agreed without hesitation. "As the main force of the combat personnel, I will take most of the remaining 70% of the profits. I will take 50% of it." Zhu Tui had given the leader, Black Sword Ant, a fatal blow. He will receive 15% of the combat reward. The remaining 5% will be distributed to Little Zhang. Zhao Saxui was extremely straightforward. After the distribution, she immediately projected the specific allocation of the three people. Zhao Saxui, 5.6 million yuan in cash and 66 contribution points. Zhu Tui, 3.92 million yuan in cash and 47 contribution points. Zhang Ziking, 1.68 million yuan in cash and 20 contribution points. Take a look. If there are no problems, we'll distribute them according to this. I'll also report the distribution ratio to the Special Intelligence Division. The Special Intelligence Division will distribute the rewards through official channels according to the individual contribution, Zhao Saxui said. "I have no problem with that." Zhu Tui was the first to express his stance. "I have no problem with that either," Zhang Ziking immediately agreed. "All right, if there are no problems, I'll report it according to this." Just as Zhao Saxui finished speaking, she saw Zhang Ziking carefully raise his hand. He looked like a student. "Professor N, can I make a small request?" "Shoot." "Professor N, my personal rights are a little low at the moment, so I want to get more contribution points and less cash. Is that okay?" Zhang Ziking was a little nervous. Individual contribution points were too difficult to earn. Even if he had a business in this area, he could not get it. Individual contribution points could be exchanged for cash. However, no matter how much cash was exchanged, it could not be converted into individual contribution points. The only way to obtain contribution points was to do special and dangerous missions at a high price for others. The price was huge. "How much do you want?" Zhao Saxui asked. "At least 90 contribution points. If I have 100 contribution points, I will be able to level up and obtain high-grade level E rights. This is too convenient for people like us. Of course, if you're willing, it's best if you give me all your contribution points." Zhang Ziking looked expectant. "I have no problem with that. you have to ask Zhu Tui, and Zhao Soxui said as she glanced at Zhu Tui. Brother Zhu, help me, Zhang Ziking begged. It could not be helped. Individual contribution points were very important to everyone. Sure, Zhu Tui had more than 5,000 contribution points in his account, so it was not a big deal for him to give up these 47 points. Of course, even if these points have some use, Zhu Tui had to help. Alright, the 133 contribution points will go to Little Zhang. He'll report it to the Special Intelligence Division. However, according to the principle of clearing missions, Little Zhuang's cash income will be greatly reduced. Since Little Zhang is Zhu Tui's friend, we would not follow the market rules. Little Zhang will take 10% of the cash, we'll use the 5% as an exchange, and Zhao Soxui said. Zhang Ziking was overjoyed. Thank you, Professor An. Thank you, Brother Zhu. Thank you, Sumek. Zhu Tui was a little surprised to see Zhang Ziking so happy. 5% of the cash was 560,000. Compared to 133 contribution points, the exchange rate was 4,000 to 1. However, Zhang Ziking was still very happy. He looked like he could not ask for more. Zhu Tui now had some understanding of this. In clearing missions, the contribution points that could be freely distributed were precious items that could only be chanced upon by luck. The true exchange value could sometimes reach 10,000 to 1. However, even if one could freely distribute their contribution points, there were still many restrictions. For example, they had initially reported the names of the 3 of them for the bounty from the Special Intelligence Division. The individual contribution points could only be transferred between the 3 of them. It was precisely because of this that the individual contribution points that could be freely distributed were exceptionally valuable. Since the distribution plan had been decided, the 3 of them began to split the loot. The cash that was gotten after selling the devices are all after taxes. There are no taxes for the official reward. However, the 4.1 million yuans in the 11 anonymous trading cards could only be transferred into a personal account after paying taxes. However, at this moment, the benefits of Zhang Ziking as a support staff were revealed. Professor and Brother Zhu and I have already registered a company. Through the company's funds, we only need to pay 5% tax to transfer the cash into our personal accounts. I'll pay in advance. I'll handle the taxes. At this point, Zhang Ziking handed over a cash card. Brother Zhu, I've also helped you complete the tax procedure for your earnings from the Sea Paradise. The tax rate is still below 5%. You can also transfer it directly into your personal account. You've worked hard, Zhu Tui said. I should. This is my job. If not for this job, how would I have earned so much money? Zhang Ziking laughed with a relaxed expression. In the end, and Zhao Soxui took 5.5 million yuans after tax, Zhang Ziking took 110,000 yuans. And the 560,000 yuans that was supposed to be Zhang Ziking was distributed to Zhu Tui. So Zhu Tui received 4.4 million yuans. Zhu Tui's cash profit eventually reached 40%. He did not reject his teacher's arrangement. Moreover, Zhang Ziking was still an outsider in front of Zhao Soxui and Zhu Tui. There was no point in rejecting her in front of outsiders. On the other hand, the principal and income that was earned from Sea Paradise had to be taxed. There was a total of 5.64 million yuans. So the tax is 280,000 yuans. Zhang Ziking's 5% tax rate was much lower than the 20% tax rate. Zhu Tui's personal funds had finally exceeded 10 million after he got the rewards from the research of the 8th reaction type genetic base point. He has a little more than 12.2 million yuans. This number made Zhu Tui feel especially proud. The feeling of being rich was different. He could finally treat Cheng Mo to a meal one day. For powerful genetic newcomers, the benefits of clearing missions are relatively high. Of course, the Black Sword and Pirate team that we wiped out this time was considered one of the higher-level missions in terms of profit. Moreover, it took very little time. This was mainly because of reverse hunting. Ordinary clearing missions did not have such a high yield. It would take a lot of time. However, clearing missions are not only about earning money to cultivate. More importantly, you can use clearing missions to train yourself. On the way back, and Zhao Soxui briefed Zhu Tui. Your improvement in strength is much faster than ordinary students. Your gains this time should be enough for you to cultivate for a period of time. Take advantage of this period of time to purchase your basic equipment, such as a special flying license, a repulsive force flying car, and a repulsive force flying skateboard. Remember, you must buy a top-grade repulsive force flying skateboard. I'll remember that, Miss Anne. And Zhao Saxui might have realized something after hearing the commotion when she picked Zutui up. So she did not send Zutui directly to the dormitory building. Instead, she drove the flying car to the parking lot of the Genetic Research Institute and asked Zutui to go back by himself. It wasn't far anyway. Zutui jogged all the way back to the dormitory. Although it was still early and it was just 8:30 p.m., he still washed up as quickly as he could. He went to bed, entered a meditative state, and slept. He had to recover his mind power. He wanted to continue attacking the genetic base point that was related to mental perception. He wanted to see how many resources and time he had to spend to complete the strengthening of the activated genetic base points. Huang was Zutui's smart alarm clock. 6 hours after it determined that Zutui had entered a deep sleep, Huang immediately woke Zutui up. He drank a cup of hot water and a bottle of level E energy restoration elixir. He sat cross-legged and breathed out. He entered meditation and instantly switched to the illusory introspective state. He continued to strengthen the activated genetic base point related to mental perception. The 7 bottles of level E energy restoration elixir had been completely consumed. Zutui's mind power was once again depleted. However, he still did not manage to strengthen the genetic base point. However, Zutui had an excited expression. It was almost time. He felt that it was about time. Zutui had used 28 bottles of level E energy restoration elixirs to forcefully break through the limit of his genetic base point related to the mental perception. The white genetic base point began to swell and pulsate. It felt similar to when many genetic base points were about to be activated. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Zutui decisively entered a meditative state and fell asleep again. He did not have to attend the mind power training class on Monday. At 8 o'clock, Zutui, who had slept for 3 hours, woke up. He felt that his mind power had recovered to nearly 60%. He did not go to eat. Instead, he started to consume the level E energy restoration elixir again and started to fight against the genetic base point. 29th bottle, the 30th bottle. Not long after he swallowed the 31st bottle of level E energy restoration elixir, the genetic base point began to expand rhythmically in his illusory introspection. At this moment, Zutui understood that he could not stop gathering energy. 3 minutes later, his head suddenly throbbed with pain as if he had a migraine. It directly made him exit the illusory introspective state. The pain came and went quickly. Zutui was stunned. He suddenly activated his mental perception and instantly broke through the range of 7.5 meters. He quickly extended his senses outwards.